It's RantDay today. Or Monday. Depends on how you see it. Anyway, this day is a day that is the day where the resting days end for a lot of people, and it's back to the weekdays of a harsh reality. And what better way to start that day is there than with the passionate RantDay to get that extra little RantDay spirit that you need to pop back into the days of reality. This show is highly opinion-based and made in order to talk about and get focused on things that I believe are heading in the wrong direction, and or just simply needs a push in the right direction. I will base my opinions on things I've heard, read, or seen throughout my life as a gamer. If a fact is wrong, I apologize in advance. Today's subject: survival games. The idea and the concept of survival games have existed for a really long time. But for me, the real survival genre started when I first laid my eyes upon the DayZ mod for Arma 2. The first time I played the DayZ mod, it was still in really early alpha. If something like that was released as an early access title now, the shitstorm would be... Wait. They actually do that all the time, don't they? Shit. Anyhow, way back when, I jumped into an Arma 2 DayZ server without knowing anything. I remember that I saw a couple of houses, and when I went inside one of them, there was loot on the floor. Just some food and some tools, I think. Not much. I remember thinking that it was weird that there was almost no furniture. When I went outside, I saw a couple of big silos and train tracks running along each other, and as I went closer, there was something there. Some players just standing around? No. It was a horde of zombies. That's about the only time I actually thought the zombies in a survival game were scary. And I think that's really all because I never had experienced that in a game before. And I actually would like a zombie survival to be released today where the zombies actually are a real big threat and not just some random hindrance. But back then, this was enough because I had never seen this before. But boy, would I experience more zombie survival games in the future than I thought I ever would back then. Even though the DayZ mod made the sales for Arma 2 fly through the roof, it actually took some time before we saw anyone else trying to use this newly created survival genre as a base for a standalone game. I still think it's weird compared to how popular the survival genre is now that not more big companies have tried to jump on this bandwagon. I mean like AAA studios and so on. They really have this huge opportunity to make something really awesome. Something that a small indie studio just can't afford to do. But we are not really seeing anything being done about this, are we? H1Z1 is probably the closest we've ever been to a big well-known company taking on a survival game. But they don't even have the backing of Sony anymore, so yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of all that. And I'm not actually sure that I want to make something out of all that. But anyhow, the first standalone zombie survival game I ever tried was WarZ. Some of you might have heard of this game, and some of you might know it as Infestation Survivor Stories. A name change they surely had to do because of the movie World War Z. Dean Rocket Hall, the creator of the DayZ mod and later the standalone game with the same title, sort of had the only thing to offer in the zombie survival department until WarZ was released. He made some controversial statements that he thought that his concept had been stolen at first when WarZ was released, and I kind of agree. I mean, WarZ, DayZ, they obviously just wanted to cash in on the success, but since using other people's concepts, it's not something new and it's not illegal or anything, he got bashed pretty hard on the web afterwards. But something else was wrong here as well. Even though I had a blast playing WarZ at first, nothing happened with the development. DayZ started to get more and more popular again, and other people started to make their own spin-offs on the DayZ mods, creating building mods such as Epoch, but nothing happened with WarZ. After a while, WarZ more or less became a pay-to-win game, still with the same features it had on release, and nothing really happened with the game for a long time, so I eventually decided that this game was nothing for me. I still think WarZ nailed some great basic ideas, but in the end they did not utilize the promise of what the game could have been. Or actually utilize on what they had promised at first at all. How the game is now after the name change, I do not know, and frankly, if I'm gonna be totally honest, I do not care. But after all this, something had taken a hold inside of me. The promise of what a survival game could be. Or a survival sandbox game if you want to be more specific. A game where you are given the tools and an open world, and what you do with that is all up to you. You can create enemies or friends, build a life and a reputation only based on a game like this, and I think the freedom of this genre is something that really excites me. And I think that is also what excites others since it's so goddamn popular, and I actually think the whole genre is developing to be something that could be pretty awesome, but we are still quite far away from releasing all the promise and potential of this genre. But I'm actually quite positive. It feels like all the survival games that are made now are just stepping stones for someone else to figure out how to implement all the best features of what the developers of today's survival games have come up with. Wrap all that in a prettier package and we could have an amazing experience on our hands. And since I have thought a lot about this issue and played almost all of these games, I think I'm quite qualified to point someone towards the right direction. So I'm now going to try to summarize all the features that I like most about this genre, and throw in some extra ideas into the pot. First of all, I like when a survival game feels as realistic as possible. A weapon system like Arma 2 or 3 has would be preferable. Or maybe something like Battlefield 4, I like that weapon system as well. And I'm all about the apocalypse idea, whether it be a zombie virus or something else that have destroyed the world, whatever. This all creates a barren landscape that just waits to be rebuilt. And that is pretty awesome. And having some sort of building system that prolongs the longevity in any sort of survival game is a must for me. Though I think the building system should be pretty advanced and realistic. I like the idea of having a totally free placement system like in Epoch mod for Arma 2 for example, more than I like the foundation and snapping system of that in H1Z1. Though I think the Epoch system is a little too free, I like how they have solved this with how the developers for the Arma 3's Epoch mod have done and added a physics system to the building. Even though this is a very clunky system in this mod, the idea behind it is probably the best I've seen. So maybe a combination of a snapping and a free building system added up with physics? I think that would be the best solution. I just love the advanced crafting system of H1Z1, so that is a total must in any sort of survival. Learning new recipes to help you survive better and craft your own gear just feels so good and rewarding, and when you can build the most advanced stuff you feel like a professional survivalist. I would support making it more realistic though, and even harder than the one that H1Z1 has, so it would feel even more rewarding. Maybe take the help of a scout leader or something like that to create the system and make it as cool and realistic as possible. I think the potential here is huge, and this is a must-have feature. Character, professions, and traits. There needs to be something that makes you special and important to someone else in the game, if you do not want it to be a random deathmatch murder feast, which in all likelihood is not very realistic now, is it? It isn't. Sure, the apocalypse would make people more jumpy, and stealing stuff from other people would probably be very profitable. But how do we solve this problem in today's society? Before the apocalypse, in the real world right now, by creating jobs and making people be and feel valuable by different traits and professions. So why not use this? People could be doctors, accountants, historians, journalists, policemen, military, artists, salesmen, politicians, carpenters, and so much more. And depending on their traits and professions, they could actually help each other out, trade and gain favor from each other, and create small societies, communities, or gangs, or so whatever. This would open up a totally different dimension to the whole survival game genre. You can make this all even more advanced with psychology features that differs if you have killed a lot of people, lost a lot of friends, been alone for a long period of time, and so on. You can make it so that your character looks less dependable or something, or maybe that you start having flashbacks if your sanity goes down, and the only way to counter this could be with some anxiety medication or something that only doctors could make. I don't know. You can even take a spin in the other direction so that making your character happy boosts your sanity and makes you work faster or something. I just think the unused potential here is so huge, and it could open up to be something really interesting and cool. The breaking point system for Arma 3 has a very basic class system with good and or bad classes, and this just opens up a big new aspect and potential to this genre. Having different maps based on real-world locations would be really cool as well. I mean, a barren snow map based on a location in Russia, a hot zombie-infested town in California, a map based on some small town near the rainforest, maybe a map based in a section of New York or something. By changing up the locations from server to server, this would create vastly different experiences. Using real-world locations gives you so much more, and often it makes the map even more amazing than if you try to build something from scratch. I think that having looting systems like the one we have today are sufficient. It's not the most pretty solution, maybe, but I think the system in H1Z1 works pretty well, and could work even better with some additional tweaks. I think these are the biggest things that I would focus on. And also character customization would be nice, purchasable skins and so on is something that I always support. I want a unforgiving, realistic survival experience that gives those who utilize all the game's features are the ones who are rewarded the most, not just the ones who have the best aim. I could probably rant on in details about this subject forever, but I do want to save some of the talk for the comment section. And I don't want to bash on specific games because I already did that in episode 1 of RantDay about early access. But what would you want to see from a survival game? What would be your ultimate survival sandbox experience? I think why you like these kinds of games is hugely based on personal preference, so please let me know your ideas in the comment section down below. Also, do you have any ideas about what I should rant about next? Leave a suggestion about this in the comment section as well. Please share this and leave a like. These small gestures helps more than you can think. And until next time, bye.